Is my sound up? Let me know what's going on. Can you guys hear me? Let's see. Cryptson. Changing back to this. No, it's going. Changing back to this. Okay, let's see. Let me know. No, it's going. Changing back to this. Okay, let's see. Let me know. Okay. I think my sound is up now. All right. Okay. 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 Thank you very much, guy. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. So, welcome to the stream today. Always a pleasure coming your way as we continue with our discussion towards the December 2022 examination. And today we want to conclude on our discussion relating to financial reporting and corporate reporting. In case you missed yesterday's discussion, you can check the description of this video and you'll be able to watch yesterday's detailed discussion on the accounting standards, where we spoke about the key accounting standards and the way you learn the standards together. And most importantly, the way you need to structure yourself up to increase your chances of passing the examination. Today, we want to look at three things generally. We're going to be discussing issues relating to ratio analysis, that is interpretation of financial statements. Number two, we will talk about consolidated financial statements. And then number three, we will talk about ethical issues. These are the rest of the issues relating to financial reporting. Then in corporate reporting, there is another thing, that is business valuation, and then corporate restructuring and financial reorganization. So we want to get into that discussion today and then continue with what we are doing. I see some of you guys joining. Give us a thumbs up on the video when you join. And also, let me hear from you in the chat where you are watching from. If there are any questions you have that you would want me to answer, remember you can send a short video of your question on WhatsApp on the number or via the number on your screen. 0545 887564 0545 If you have a question and you would want me to answer your question, you can send a short video of yourself asking the question on WhatsApp, and I'll be providing you with an answer with a question. But remember that your video will be featured on all our platforms, so you be mindful of that. So let's get excited into the discussion today. Remember also that our live stream session for our main lecture will be starting on Monday, 5th of September 2022, and you can enroll to study under my mentorship. You get access to our live and recorded lectures. You get access to practice questions online, our online live practice question portal. You get access to our executive leadership masterclass and also our examination analysis documents. If you follow our mentorship very well and you are able to discipline yourself, pass first time is guaranteed as you prepare yourself for the August 2022 examination. So you can head on to our website or download the Nhyira Premium mobile application and be able to enroll in the course. So let me bring up my screen and then let's get excited. Let's use this rather. Okay. And let's get excited in the discussion today. Right. So like I mentioned, in case you've missed the discussion yesterday, you can watch the playback of the video on the port. Did I say on the portal? I thought I'm in my main class. You can watch the session of yesterday's video by checking the description of the video and be able to get access to that as well, so you can watch it. Okay. All right. Okay, so I see some messages coming in. Let's see if we can take them quickly. I think when I was doing my sound check. All right, so we had people coming in. Patient Boachi said good to know. Okay. Who do we have? Chola said, following from Lusaka, Zambia. Thank you, Firestone Chola, for Okay, I think we are back. I don't know, my network messing me up today. But let's see if my sound is up again so we can go. All right, so Firestone from Lusaka, Zambia, thanks for joining us on the stream today. Really a privilege coming your way and assisting you to prepare well for the examination. Alexander Amponsa said, sorry, Ampoma said, the sound is very good today. Yes, I'm supposed to have a good sound, but yesterday, I don't know what happened to my sound. I don't know. I think I messed up something. So I had it checked for me by my technical guys today. So we should have a good sound today. Joshua Boachi Adam said, no sound, please. I think my sound is back now. Oh, all right, Joshua said it's okay now. That's fine. Eric Ando said, Eric watching from Elubo. I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you, Eric, for joining us on the stream today. Samuel Edwin Nelson said, Samuel Edwin from Liberia. Thank you, Samuel, for joining us. So, like I mentioned, my focus today is on three things. Basically, we want to look at yesterday we discussed the issue about the 40 mark area relating to the standards that we have to focus on and the way we study the standards. My discussion today is going to be centering around three key issues. Number one, we're going to be talking about ethics because in the exam hall, the examiner is going to be bringing questions on ethics. So, how do we study it? How do we position ourselves? How do we approach ourselves to obtain the maximum marks at the end of the day from ethical issues? Then number two, the examiner is going to be bringing questions on consolidated financial statement. It's a done deal expert question 120 marks waiting for us in the exam hall for corporate reporting as well as for financial reporting. The question is, what are the key areas we need to look out for? How do we study consolidated financial statement and how do we optimize ourselves in order to increase the chances of passing the examination? Then certainly the third thing is going to be interpretation of financial statement. Again, this is a done deal area waiting for you in the exam hall, and so you need to find out what you should be looking out for on these standards and how you can position yourself to really obtain the maximum marks relating to these topics. Like I say always, financial reporting and corporate reporting are interesting papers that you can pass easily if you understand the structure of the syllabus and position yourself very well. Very easy. The reason is that you kind of know exactly what is going to be there, and it won't fail. Okay, we know there is going to be question on ratios. It won't fail. You know there is going to be question on ethics. It won't fail. We know there is going to be a question on consolidated financial statements. It's not going to fail. But the question is, how the heck are you going to learn that? How the heck are you going to learn that? All right. And then how do you position yourself in order to optimize yourself to really, really pass the examination? So let me bring up my screen and let's get excited on our discussion now. Oh, I think I got to re-bring up my screen here. Let's see. Okay, I see some chats coming in as I prepare my screen. Sadiq watching from Tamale. Thank you, Sadiq, for joining us on the stream today. Let's see. I think my screen should be ready now. You ready? Yep, he's ready. It's ready. Okay, can I go this way? Nope, let's go this way. Right. Well done. Samuel watching from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you, Samuel, for joining us on the stream today. Guys, give us a thumbs up on the video. In case you've not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. At 30,000 subscribers, we'll be doing some giveaways on the channel. So as soon as we get 30,000 subscribers, we're going to be doing some giveaways and you're going to be loving it. We're going to be giving some, courses out, some mentorship sessions with me out, and a couple of cool things to enable you to really, really become successful. So in case you've not subscribed to the channel, help us to cross 30,000 as soon as possible. And let's have some live stream giveaway sessions so that we can really celebrate that together. So let's get excited into the discussion today. The first thing we want to look at, like I mentioned earlier, is going to be ethics. Ethics. It's a done deal area that the examiner is going to be throwing at us. Last semester in financial reporting, the examiner was really generous on this one. The examiner was really, really generous on this one in financial reporting. He brought a 10-mark question on this on last semester. 10-mark questions that the examiner brought on this last semester. 10. Can you imagine that? 10 marks on ethics. So ethics is going to be done deal there in the exam hall. It's going to be a done deal in the exam hall. So you must know about it, professional ethics. But a question we ask ourselves is, how do we study ethics? Because it is purely reading aspect. How do we study it, and how do we position ourselves to be able to obtain majority of the marks that has been given to us, or that the examiner is going to be giving to us generally? There are, among other things, two key issues that you need to understand. That is the Code of Ethics by IFAG, International Federation of Accountants. Then number two, you need to understand the threats to the Code of Ethics. You need to understand the threats to the Code of Ethics. So these are the two things. And in the exam hall, the question is going to be set around these two things that you must understand. Now, the Code of Ethics are basic issues you need to understand already. I'm not going to be teaching ethics today. We are just running through to know how we will study the thing. And you can watch a video on the channel on ethics, but we will cover this as well later on in our discussion and solve some questions together. So what's happening here is that on ethics, you must know the fundamental code of ethics. So we have integrity, meaning to be honest and straightforward. Objectivity, meaning to not allow bias, conflict of interest, and undue influence to impact on judgment. Number three, there is going to be issue about professional competence and due care. So professional competence and due care, meaning that having the necessary qualifications, knowledge, and experience and expertise required to execute the job, but most importantly, carrying out the job in the manner that is expected. So, and then number four, we're going to have confidentiality. As an accountant, a professional accountant, you cannot talk. You got to keep quiet. You got to zip your lips. You need to be able to keep mute on the essential information that you come across as you carry out your work as a professional accountant. You cannot talk. You cannot share it with anybody. But there are exceptions. Are you getting it? There are exceptions. So, like I say always, maybe you get home in the evening, your wife prepares your favorite meal for you, then after eating, then your wife is like, oh honey, how was today, how was work today? Then you begin to talk. Today I say, the things that were going on, my boss, the money that they are chopping, yeah, they will collapse. No, you don't tell your wife about your business, your company's affairs. It's against professional ethics. Now, probably you trust your wife, or you trust your spouse, or you trust your husband. So you feel that, oh, sharing the work information with them will not be an issue. Remember, your husband, your wife also trusts someone else. And before you know it, she's at the salon, they are chatting. Then she will bring up what you told her, and before you know it, your work information is being discussed in the salon. And from the salon, it will get to another place, it will get to another place. Then before you know it, all the information will be in the public domain. So as a professional accountant, it is very, very important that you keep quiet. You owe a duty of care to keep the information of the clients and not disclose it to anybody without a client's permission. However, there are exceptional issues, and you must know about those exceptions. Okay, you must know about those exceptions. Then the fifth one is professional behavior. The fifth one is professional, behavior. This is, ensuring that you adhere to the code of ethics generally and not do anything that brings discredit to the accountancy profession, making sure that you're adhering to everything that you are supposed to adhere to as a professional accountant. And overall, like I mentioned, doing the right thing. So these are the 5 code of ethics. So you must know them in detail and know everything about them. Like I said, integrity means being honest and straightforward, not providing misleading information to the stakeholders, to share other shareholders, and also to regulatory authorities. These are the code of ethics. But then the reason why a lot of professional accountants cannot adhere to the code of ethics is what the second part of the discussion about ethics is, and that is the issue relating to the threats. The threats to the code of ethics. And again, there are 5 threats here that you must understand. We have the intimidation threat, we have the familiarity threat, we have the advocacy threat, we have the self review threat, and then we have the self interest threat. So these are the 5 code of ethics. Did I say 5 code of ethics again? 5 threats to the code of ethics that you must understand in detail. So when we say intimidation threats, these are the things that put pressure on the professional accountant to act in a manner against the acceptable codes. Okay? So for instance, someone blackmailing you, all right, someone threatening you, okay, someone says you're going to lose your job if you don't do something for them. It's still a form of blackmail. All right. It's an intimidation threat. It will make the professional accountant not to adhere to the integrity. So the trick here is this. Now we getting into the tricks now, the way you learn this together. So yes, you're gonna be learning and knowing the fundamental code of ethics. Definitely we cannot overemphasize the importance of that. So you learn the fundamental code of ethics. Then you come to the second part, and that is going to be the threats to the code of ethics. So you must know the threat to the code of ethics. Now, depending on the way the question is structured, usually the examiner is going to be asking you, what are the ethical issues faced by the accountant, or the ethical dilemma faced by the accountant? Then number 2, the appropriate course of action. The appropriate course of action. So be careful here, because this is 10 marks maximum, but 6 marks minimum. But so you're going to have it in the exam hall anyways, anyhow. So ethical issues or ethical dilemma. Ethical issues or ethical dilemma. So what is it? When we read the question, listen carefully. This is how you learn ethics. So after reading the story, whatever book maybe you may be using on ethics, whatever it is, after you read a material on it, like for instance, this is my book, my financial reporting book. Let me just open to ethics and then show you what I mean by that. So after reading the material, this is the material on ethics. After reading the material on integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, professional behavior, after you read the threats to the code of ethics, after you read all these, are you following me? You got to practice questions to see if you're good. So the way you practice questions is, for instance, let's see what happened last semester. Look at the story here. It's a whole essay that examiner brought to students last semester, financial reporting. It's a whole story here. So you're going to read the entire story. Okay, you read the entire story. Now look at the requirements of the question. I want you to stay with me carefully here, because this is a done deal area in the exam hall and you need to understand it. And I want you to make sure you get majority of the marks in the exam hall. That's my goal on this discussion. So look at the I aspect of the question. It says, discuss the potential risks for breaching the fundamental principles of IFAC Code of Ethics. The potential risks of breaching. Then he says, recommend the possible actions that should be taken as a newly admitted member of the institute in dealing with this ethical dilemma. Discuss the potential risks. So what's happening here? The threat simply means the things that prevents the professional accountant from adhering to the code of ethics. So this is what's going to happen. When you are addressing the questions, you must identify the threats in the question. Then you link the threat to the fundamental code of ethics that is being breached by the professional accountants. Are you getting the picture? So you identify the code of the threats in the question, then you link it to the fundamental code of ethics. That's the trick. That is the trick. Sorry. So, what does that mean? It means that you need a deeper understanding of what intimidation threats are. You need what familiarity is. Familiarity comes in from having a long business or personal relationship with the client or with the person involved. Advocating is doing something on behalf of somebody or pushing an agenda by somebody or representing someone. Self review is you being asked to look at something that you were involved in preparing or putting together. And self interest is where you have a financial or non financial interest in a transaction, in a client, or in an entity. Are you getting the picture? So when you read the scenario, the examiner says ethical dilemma. So what do? You need to identify what are the threats that a person is faced with. And definitely in almost all the questions, you're going to be finding out intimidation or familiarity or self-interest or self-review threats. Once you identify that, you now connect that with the code of ethics that a person is breached. That a person has breached. So for instance, if the person is faced with an intimidation threat, let me give you an example. So let's say that I'm going to just use some example, okay? So let's say we have Giselle. That's the name of somebody, Giselle. And then we have the CEO of the company. So Giselle is, let's say Giselle is the accountant of the company. And Giselle just qualified as a professional accountant and was appointed. Now, stay with me carefully with this illustration. It's going to help you a lot. So, Giselle was just appointed by the company, and Giselle is a young lady, just got married. You know, young lady just got married, and has a lot of family responsibilities to undertake. Now, this part of the world, if you are getting some small money, no, you have to take care of the family. If you don't do it, they will curse you. So you have to do it anyhow. Because whilst your parents are supposed to leave wealth for your children, they are relying on you to take care of them. No P, but this is the scenario. So Giselle is newly appointed as the accountant of the company. She is married and she has some family responsibility. Probably her husband is a NAPCO person who are now out of job. They are not unemployed because their job has ended this week or today. So she has been employed. So she's the one taking care of the house and everything. Newly worded. All right. Then we have a CEO of the company. Now, Giselle comes and Giselle sees something. She's a newly appointed person, and Giselle comes and Giselle has seen something. So the company is preparing to take a bank loan. Now, the bank requires that we present them with a cash flow forecast so that we can get a loan. Then the CEO told the bank that, Giselle will present them with a loan, with a cash flow statement very soon. Now, whilst Giselle was preparing the statement, Giselle realized that no, there are a couple of issues that cannot be communicated to the bank, and she's a professional. She cannot commit that error. So she approached the CEO and the CEOs and tell the CEO that no, we cannot do this. We cannot send this to the bank because it will not be professional for me. Then the CEO said, okay, if you want to keep your job, do what I've asked you to do. If not, you can leave and that will be all. The question is, if you were Giselle, would you bow down and do the wrong thing so the company gets the loan so you keep your job? Or you will say you are a woman of integrity, a person who is honest, a Christian, a Muslim, someone who doesn't screw up and walk away from the job and become unemployed with your NAPCO husband and live miserable? What will you do? That is what we mean by ethical dilemma, where the professional accountant is on the line. His job is on the line. He has to be professional, or he's contemplating to either be professional or bend the line to save his or her ass, or his or herself generally. So what would you do here? This is called intimidation threats. That's it. It's an intimidation threat because the Giselle has been threatened that if she doesn't do what the CEO is saying, she's going to lose her job. Now look at Giselle. She's appointed newly. She's married. She has family responsibilities. What should Giselle do? And that is where the second part of the question comes in, the appropriate course of action. So when you read the scenario, you need to identify what are the threats this person in the question is facing. Is it an intimidation threat? Is it a familiarity threat? Is it an advocacy threat? Is it a self-review threat? Is it a self-interest threat? Then how does that affect the code of ethics? Because now Giselle, because she is threatened, that is an intimidation threat. So that will put pressure on her, and her objectivity, that is professional judgment, is going to be affected. And her integrity will also be affected because remember, as a professional accountant, you cannot provide misleading information to stakeholders. But now she's going to prepare a fraudulent cash flow forecast and send it to the bank. What has she done? She has also breached integrity. Are you getting the idea here? So that is how you work it out. But what will be the courses of action? Please, you there, for the purpose of the exams, I beg you, for the purpose of the exams, just write what has to be done. Now, for the purpose of the exam, we will say that Giselle should walk out and go away. That's it. In other words, Giselle should maintain her professional, duty or professional role. She should never do what the CEO is asking her to do. She should never do it. So that is the ultimate goal. Okay, what if Giselle loses her job? We don't care. That one, we don't care. The profession doesn't care about it. Are you getting it? So don't be emotional about that part. You there just, I know in practice, some of you will just do that, and you have been doing the wrong things, because nobody will catch you in this part of the world. You there go Europe, America, and go and do some of those things. You'll be jailed. This part of the world, some of these things are now getting really serious, but you got to do the right thing. So Giselle has to maintain that the right thing be done. So generally, what will be the appropriate course of action? The appropriate course of action ultimately is that the professional accountant must maintain the professional, or must adhere to the code of ethics in all circumstances. That's all. So adherence to the code of ethics, irrespective of the circumstances. If you're going to lose your job, adhere and lose the job. What if you become unemployed? We don't care. What if you can't take care of your family? We don't care. Adhere to the code of ethics. But how does she do that? So there are a couple of appropriate course of action that can be taken. Number one can be, education or remind. So if the CEO is not a fellow chartered accountant, then Giselle can educate the CEO and say, hey, sir, I'm sorry, but as a professional accountant, this is against the code of professional conduct, and later on I could be sued or something like that. But then if the CEO is a fellow chartered accountant, then maybe he has forgotten the code of ethics. So Giselle can then remind him of the code of ethics. Are you getting the picture here? That is the idea. That is the idea. But this is where it gets a little bit emotional or a little bit serious, because this is where you are going to educate the CEO. He will kick you out of his office. When I was establishing this company, where were you? You were in diapers. When I was running this company, where were you? You were doing a miserable first degree. So it's going to get at you straight in your face. And sometimes you'll be intimidated to even go to your boss and go and educate your boss on professionalism when your salary is being paid from the company. But that is what the IFA Code of Ethics directs. So you educate or you remind. If that doesn't work, you need to seek advice from the, internal, from the board, or maybe the audit committee if something is available. So you write to the audit committee and you seek some advice. If that doesn't work, you seek some advice from the external ICAG. And there is a professional ethics committee at the ICAG. If none of the above work, you resign. That's the ultimate goal. Now, resignation depends on the materiality of the event. If really the event is material and non-compliance will be really tough, or will have a lot of dire consequences on you, then you need to resign. So these are like the appropriate courses of action. So that is the first thing. Ethics. My key takeaway is this: it's a reading area. So when you finish reading the material itself, now you need to practice a lot of questions and find out what is going on and how you can link all of them together. Does that make sense? You find out how you can link them all together. Any questions, please, about ethics? Any questions? I see some of you guys joining. You are welcome. Give us a thumbs up on the video. If there are any questions, put it in the chat for me, or the comment section. No, the chat. I think we are live only on YouTube today. I think we had a time zone issue, so our Facebook stream was canceled. So if there are any questions, you put it in the chat for me about ethics. Okay? Any questions about ethics, you put it in the chat for me. But that is how we go through ethics. That's the first thing we need to understand. And it's a done deal area. You want to make sure you know that very, very well. Sadiq. Sorry, Andani Tamale. I think I've taken that already. William Nya said, watching from Oyo, Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Sorry if I mentioned something wrong. Okay. Patient Boachi said, watching from Bechem. All right. Bechem United. Thank you. Watch AJ Gloria said, watching from Bolgatanga. Okay. Shout outs to Bolgatangans. Thanks for joining us on the stream. So that's the first thing, ethics. Let's go to the second thing, consolidated financial statements. Consolidated financial statements. This is also a 20-mark area that the examiner will bring to you in question 1. The examiner will throw that to you every time. Say, this is the financial reporting paper last semester. You're supposed to prepare consolidated statement of financial position here. Yesterday, I shared with you the standards here. So we have IFRS 3, business combination. We have IFRS 10, consolidated financial statement. We have IAS 27, separate financial statements as well, coming in there. In that case, then we have IAS 28, investment in associate and joint venture arrangements there. So these are some key standards that we need to be mindful on. But you have to be careful here. Please know that consolidation is very broad, especially for those of you doing corporate reporting. Consolidated financial statement is really broad. If you are not careful, you will spend all your study hours just on consolidation. Over the years, the experience I've had is students come and they sit in my FR class or in my CR class, and usually consolidated financial statement is my last topic that I take. It's the last topic I take. And they sit in the class and they are always anxious. They are always panicking. They are like, Nhyira, when are we doing consolidation? 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 And some people literally call me and they are like, when are we doing? And I'm like, relax. That is 20-mark area in the exam. So relax. Let's do the 80 marks first. Then later on, we can deal with that, because consolidated financial statement requires a lot of time. But before you go into doing consolidated financial statement, make sure you are strong in your IFRSs, because they will call you. So that is why I went through the IFRSs with you yesterday. So when you have a deeper understanding of the IFRSs, then and only then can you excel in the consolidated financial statement. And like I said, it's a broad area, especially for my corporate reporting students. It's a broad area. If you are not careful, you spend all your time trying to learn everything in consolidation, but note that in the exam hall, that is just 20 marks. Do not forgo the rest of the syllabus, 80 marks, spending all your time on consolidated financial statement. Do not forget that. Do not forget that. So when it comes to consolidation or consolidated financial statement, there are some key issues, key principles that you need to understand and study them. So as you read the book, as you watch the video, as you go through the class, maybe you are studying under my mentorship or you are studying somewhere else, as the lecturer is teaching on consolidated financial statement, whatever be the case, these are key principles you have to take away. And these are the things that will help you in the exam hall. So whatever the lecturer is saying, you need to make sure you go with these principles. Number one is the group structure. You need to always establish the group structure. How is the ownership structure like? Why is this important? Because this will help you to also understand the post-acquisition period. One of the most important information here, for those of you doing corporate reporting, the group structure will help you to have an understanding of the non-controlling interest if you're dealing with a subsidiary. That is a complex group structure. So that is for corporate reporting student. If you are doing FR, don't think about that yet. So you need a group structure because that helps you to determine the post-acquisition period. This is very, very important. If you miss the post-acquisition period, you are likely to miss a lot of things. So you need a group structure first. So understand the rules on how to design the group structure, how to establish your post-acquisition period. If you're a corporate reporting student and you're dealing with complex group structure, how to deal with the non-controlling interest in the subsidiary. Number two is to then establish issues about goodwill. Every consolidated financial statement question, there will be goodwill that the examiner would ask you to do. Even if it doesn't ask you, indirectly, you would have to calculate it, especially if you are preparing consolidated statement of financial position, or you are preparing the consolidated cash flow statement for the corporate reporting students. So goodwill calculation is very, very important. Know how to calculate goodwill. You must know how to calculate goodwill. Now, in the calculation of goodwill, two things will come in. How to determine fair value of consideration transferred, meaning how much the parent company paid the shareholders of the subsidiary company, and then fair value of non-controlling interest at the date of acquisition. This is very, very important. The rules governing these two things, how to deal with fair value of consideration transferred, how to deal with non-controlling interest, you have to know them off head. These are key principles. You cannot renegotiate them. So as you are studying consolidated financial statement, you have to ask yourself, what are the elements of fair value of consideration transfer, and how are each of these elements treated? How are they treated? Then non-controlling interest. There are three ways non-controlling interest can be valued. How do we deal with that? Very, very important. Number three is to deal with issues relating to fair value adjustments. There will always be some fair value adjustment at the date of acquisition that has to be incorporated or not in the financial statements. This is where your standards may come in. IFRSs may be called on. For that reason, when you're doing consolidation, there are some standards that the examiner may call on you. For instance, IAS 16, property, plant, and equipment may be applicable here. Number two, IAS 37, provisions, contingent liabilities, contingent assets. IAS 23, borrowing cost. The examiner may call on you here. IAS 12, income tax. The examiner may call on you here. Then for those of you doing corporate reporting, the standards the examiner may call on you will be IAS 19, employee benefit. IFRS 2, share-based payment. If he is excited, then he will go to the extreme and bring you something about financial instruments. So even though you are doing consolidated financial statements, the examiner will require you to then apply some of these standards. That is why yesterday we discussed in detail these standards. So if you are strong in the standards, it will make consolidation also much easier for you. So number one, know the principles about group structure so you can determine the post-acquisition period. Number two, if it is a complex group structure for corporate reporting students, know the issue about subsidiaries and know how to deal with it. Then you have to also know goodwill calculation, the fair value of consideration transferred, fair value of NCI at the date of acquisition. Very, very important. Then fair value adjustment. Number three, that is going to be where the standards will be called on. So that is another key principle that you need to understand. Number four, the fourth thing that you need to understand about consolidated financial statement is dealing with issues relating to intra-group trading. Intra-group trading. Let me be specific, post-acquisition intra-group trading. Because in consolidation, pre-acquisition intra-group trading is not dealt with. It's only post-acquisition intra-group trading that will be dealt with. So it is important you know how to deal with the post-acquisition intra-group trading. So if the parent company sells to the subsidiary, what do we do? If the subsidiary sells to the parent, what do we do? If the parent company sells to the associate, what do we do? If the associate sells to the parent, what do we do? All right. Then if there are goods in transit, what do we do? Cash in transit, what do we do? Provision for unrealized profit, how do you deal with that? So it is important you understand the principles guiding intra-group trading. Very, very important. Very, very important, especially if you are somebody who is in level 2, because in level 3, sometimes there will not be any intra-group trading that examiner will bring to you. Now, if you look at these principles that I'm explaining, that is exactly what is established in the last semester, examination, and it is going to be there every time. You're going to be following these principles every time. You're going to be following these principles every time. For instance, this you can see here, this note 4 here is about intra-group trading. All right? Note 4 is about intra-group trading. That's very, very important. That's very, very important. Then the note 5 here, it's financial instrument, IFRS 9. As examiner is calling upon you there. Then this is the fair value adjustment situation we are talking about. There's an intangible asset there, IAS 38. You need to apply it. Then there's an equipment here, IAS 16 issue. You need to apply it. So you have to understand these things very well. So that is the fourth thing. Number 5, generally, will be the non-controlling interest. Non-controlling interest. The reason is that sometimes the company doesn't own 100% of the subsidiary. Hence, there will be some, non-controlling interest. So, for instance, if you look at this question, it says, on 1st September 2020, Adanse acquired 80% of the ordinary shares. Okay, so it means the non-controlling interest is 20%. We need to place a value on the non-controlling interest. We need to place a value on the non-controlling interest. So you have to know how to calculate or account for the non-controlling interest. That's very, very important. Then the sixth thing that I would want to share with you is if there is an associate, it is not going to be always, but investment in associate, if there is any, it should be accounted for in accordance with IAS 28, investment in associate. So when it comes to consolidated financial statements, these rule will apply irrespective of the question you are solving. These rules will apply irrespective of the question you are solving. For that reason, you must understand the principles guiding each of these 5 items or 6 items that I've mentioned here. Apart from the 6th one, investment in associate, which is rare, the first 5 are going to be applicable. So you must understand these principles when you are learning consolidated financial statements. So that is it also about a consolidated financial statement. Any questions, please? You put it in the chat for me, and we're going to be getting excited about that. Sita said, thank you for the good work, joining for the first time. That's great to see you, Sita, or to hear from you. Belinda said, hello, Nhyira, watching you live from Kumasi. All right, so Kumericans, give you shout outs today. Thanks for joining us on the live stream today as well. So that's about consolidated financial statements. That's about consolidated financial statements. Then finally, we look at ratios. Done deal. Waiting for you in the exam hall, and that is interpretation of financial statements. Interpretation of financial statement. You know, my key takeaway on this is in two folds, usually. Number one, knowing how to compute it. But number two, the interpretation, very, very important. Now, you have to be mindful of the computation because during the computation, there may be adjustments that has to be made. During the computation, there may be some additional information that we must take into consideration. There may be some additional information that we must take into consideration. Then also the formula. It's very, very important you know the formulas. It's very, very important because some people, even the formula, they can't recollect it. They can't remember the formula. But the interpretation is very, very critical. You must know because sometimes the examiner says, will say compare the entity with industry average or another company, maybe a proxy firm. The tone you use for such interpretation will be different from if you are dealing with the same entity. The wordings will be different. Will be different. Will be different. So you have to be careful also about ratios. So when you are learning ratios, yes, know about the formulas. I wouldn't subscribe to chewing the formulas because chewing never gets the job done. Understand the concept behind the items, behind the computations. Once you understand the concept behind the computation, that will then put you in the position to be able to do the computations. Then sometimes the examiner will provide additional information, and so you must remember your formulas very well. So, like for instance, last semester, we had 20 marks coming in on ratios, question 4. 12 marks for the computation, very simple ratio, very, very simple. Very, very simple things coming in there. Just that there are a lot of work that has to be done, though. But the information is given. And you may have to do some adjustments. You may have to use the additional information well, and you may have to use the right formula. But most importantly, it's going to be your interpretation. You have to know how to do the interpretation. Now, all these things are available on the YouTube channel here. We did a masterclass, a 3-part masterclass on ratios. You can check it out on the channel and look at it. Very detailed ratio analysis that you can look at and, help you to understand the concept. But you need to practice a lot of questions. And that is what I do. One of the things we do here is that, ratio is one of the topics we do first because number one, you have to look at conceptual framework and regulatory framework. From there, you go to ethics, you take that out. After that, you come to ratios, you take that out very early. After that, you can deal with the standards, because that is a 40-mark area. Then you can now come to consolidated financial statements. This is how I teach the subject, and this is how I expect you to also study the subject. Sounds good? This is how I expect you. It makes the job easier for you. Conceptual framework is a reading aspect you can glance through and go away. Ethics, done deal. Ratios, done deal. And when we get to ratios, funny enough, what I do for my students all the time is I don't write interpretation for them. So after we explain, you are given a question, then you do the calculation, then you write your ratios. Then we will come to class, then I'll be correcting people's scripts. Because you need to know how to interpret the ratios. You need to know how to compute the ratios. That is how you excel in the exam hall. So I will not teach the ratios, solve the questions, and write solution for you to go and chew. It doesn't work that way. Because now, if you're put in the exam hall with a question like this, you have to figure it out yourself. But if you have not, if you have never put yourself under the position or under the pressure to think and do the calculations and write the English for the interpretation, then you're going to screw up this 20 marks in the exam hall. He's going to screw it up. So that is one way I teach, my corporate reporting and financial reporting generally. So that is the idea. So you're going to be mindful of the ratios, practice a lot of questions, write a lot of grammar. Okay. Again, that is why I always say that you have to, where you are attending lectures is going to be very important, because you have to be monitored. You have to write this over and over again so that you can perfect the act. You can perfect the act before you get to the exam hall. And that is one of the issues, or one of the things that we really, really take into consideration here. You're gonna be practicing you will do it. You will do it, because that is the only way out for you to be able to pass the examination. That is very, very important when you deal with that in that particular case. So that is the idea generally about the issue for the ratios as well. Any questions, put it in the chat for me. But like I said, this is how I expect you to read the paper generally, or to study. Remember, I told you yesterday you can prepare your study plan, because you need to study on your own as well. So you go with conceptual framework. It's a reading area. You can do that overnight. I mean, if you have any financial reporting book, for those of you who have my book, Financial Reporting, or my corporate reporting book, I mean, you could read that over dinner. That is, if you have one. I mean, conceptual framework and regulatory framework is not a miracle. You can read that easily. You don't need anybody to really do any deliverance on that. They are straightforward issues. Then from there, you can come to the ethics. Number two, like I've explained to you, know the fundamental code of ethics, know how to deal with the threats, most importantly, as well as you look at it. Then, not only that, you have to also know how to uh, identify or answer the questions relating to that. Very, very important. Then once you are done with that, you come to ratios. Then you come to the standards. The standards, 40 marks. Very, very important. I don't want you to start with the standards. I would rather let you, do these guys. Then you come to the standards, because it will give you some momentum. Then you now come to the standards. That way you put yourself in the spot to be able to, pass the examination. So this is how, I'll recommend that you study the paper generally relating to corporate reporting and financial reporting. Any questions, please put it in the chat for me, or in the comments for me, and I'm going to be providing with some answers. I see some questions coming up. Let's see if I can get this. What do we have? Eric said, a bit highlight on the computation of group earnings, group retained earnings. Computation of group retained earnings. Ooh. Oh, and the consolidated financial statement, I guess, if that is what you're trying to say. I don't know. Let's see. Group retained, and you can watch our video on the portal on consolidated financial statement. I don't know if you have enrolled in our course on our portal though, but you can watch on YouTube here. Also, we have some videos on that. But group retained earnings is everything about the the parent. So you're going to bring the parents' retained earnings. It will come. You'll bring share of post-acquisition profit or loss. Share of post-acquisition profit or loss from the associate as well as from the subsidiary. All those will come. Then if the parent was the one selling, Provision for unrealized profits may be brought in here as well. Then aside that, there may be some finance cost on deferred payment or deferred consideration. If there is anything like that, you're going to be bringing it in as well. Then if there is impairment in goodwill or impairment in investment in associates, that may be brought as well here for the period and the review. Then what else we going to have? Yeah, these are basically some of the things that will be coming here. Like I said, you can watch the our detailed video on this uh, either on our portal and the way we went through it. If you have enrolled in our course online, or better still on YouTube, I think we have video as well on consolidated financial statement that follows a certain trend on the principles that I've mentioned, and you can also watch that on the portal. So let me know, Eric Andor, if that is okay for you there. Augustine said, good evening, sir. Good evening, Augustine. Thanks for joining us on the stream today. So that is basically what we must understand when it comes to financial reporting and corporate reporting. There is only one thing left in corporate reporting that I had not mentioned, and that is business valuation and then corporate restructuring and financial reorganization. That is also another topic in corporate reporting that you must know about. One of them will be featured in the exam hall. So, corporate restructuring, financial reorganization, and business valuation. One of them will be featured in the exam hall. So, it is important you understand how to deal with these issues as well, even before you come to consolidated financial statement uh, presentation and calculation in that particular case. So, that is what I want you to understand and how I want you to study financial reporting and also corporate reporting. My final takeaway on these papers, like I mentioned from my intro, is like what I said yesterday. You have to study. You need to practice a lot of questions, but also you need to practice questions under time, because many of you are going to fail the exams not because you don't know, not because you did not study, but because you were not able to apply and you didn't work within the time stipulated. So possibly, by the time they said get ready to stop work, you had done only two questions, and then there you knew you're gonna fail the exams. So going into December 2022, to increase your understanding and application, and to enable you to manage your time well in the exam hall, after studying, ensure you practice a lot of questions, but not just practicing a lot of questions under time under time. And that may require you to sacrifice, that may require you to be dedicated, that may require you to discipline yourself a little so that it can become successful. All right. So that is what I want you to really take away at the end of the day, that the onus lies on you. Irrespective of where you are attending lectures, irrespective of who the heck is teaching you, the onus lies on you. You have to work extra hard. You have to work extra hard. And like I shared with you yesterday, you may say, Nhyira, I'm a busy person. I don't have time. If you are busy and you don't have time, stay with what you are doing and don't buy emotional trauma or pressure for yourself. Because some of you, if you write the IC exams and you don't pass it, your world will crumple. And some of you, if you write it 1, 2, 3 and you don't get it, you will want to stop and go and sell beans or do something else. But you don't have to get to that point. I believe that December 2022, if you should do the right thing, go under the right mentorship, attend lectures, wherever it is, but attend lectures, discipline yourself to study, you will excel in the exam hall. I know. I've seen it. Students have passed through me and I've seen it. People who are dedicated, going the extra mile, work hard, and working under time, managing their time very well before the exams, they excel all the time. And you can do the same. And that will require some sacrifices. And if you are ready to do that or to make some sacrifices, then you will make it. Isa Halilu said, watching from Wa. Thank you, Isa, from Wa. So for joining us. People from Wahao, we call them Kumasi is Kumerican, Bogatanga is Bogatangans. Wa will be Was. Prince J, who said, "Hi, hello, Prince. Thanks for joining us on the stream today." So that is what I want you to take away. Any questions for me, please put it in the chat for me. Eric, let me know if my explanation on the group retained earnings you asked was what we were looking for. So let me know any questions. Put it in the chat for me. Want to hear from you if there are any questions you have for me. But that is the takeaway. What we discussed yesterday and what we've discussed today, if you should implement it to the letter, December 2022, hands down, you will pass the corporate reporting or financial reporting exams. Okay? You'll pass it. So that is what I want you to take away. That's what I want to take away. Tomorrow, God willing, I'll be coming your way as well at 4:30 p.m. And it will be taking I think public sector accounting and finance and maybe management accounting, but we are yet to confirm on that. So we'll take another subject tomorrow, and then share some thought on them, on how you study them and the key issues that you need to focus on, and how you need to generally structure yourself to really pass the examination. So thank you very much for joining me on the stream. It's always a pleasure coming your way, providing you with some assistance as you prepare for the exams, and most importantly, become successful. Like I said, you need to work hard. Okay? You need to work hard. That's all. No matter where you are attending lectures, you will fail the exams if you don't work on your own. So work hard. Drop your title, drop your ego, be a student of life. That's it. Okay? We know you are successful. We know you have money. We know you drive Corolla LE. We know you drive Benzo. We know. But drop it and be humble. Go through the system. Go through the treadmill. Wherever you're attending lectures, where assignments are given, make sure you participate in it. If they are doing a test, make sure you participate in it. Wherever you're attending lectures, involve yourself in the class. And don't open your book once a week, because some of you are so busy and you're like, yo, once a week. It's only the day, the time you have lectures that you open your book. And when they ask, what did we do last week? You don't even know. Oh, who tried their hands on the question? You didn't do. But I want you to discipline yourself. Give some sacrifices. Be a student. Okay? Be a student. Because whatever success you have is minuscule. It's small. Okay? Whatever money you think you have, it's coins. You've not reached anywhere. So if you can humble yourself, be a student, go through the system, participate, and not be full of yourself, you can do this in record time and become successful as soon as possible. And that is it. Now, the reason why I said this yesterday, and I'm also saying it today, is because of what I've seen over the years. I've had people sitting under my mentorship and they don't even take notes for some reason. Like, they will bring book, but you are teaching and they are not taking notes, and they are on their phones. Is that foolishness or dumbness? How can you take a car, come to class, sit down, and all the time you're on your phone? And it's not one, it's not twice. You go to the exam or you go fail. You go and fail. Then you say the ICA is difficult. My house people are following me. God is not favoring me. No, it's your attitude. It's your foolishness. So if you can change your approach, change your attitude, be conscious of this, December 2022, you will be among the people who will pass the exams. Because remember, December 2022, about 30% of students will pass the exams. It's not a prophecy, it's the reality. I'm not a prophet, please. About 30% of students on the average will pass the exams. On the average, all other things being equal. And if you want to be part of those people, you must discipline yourself to pass the exams. And that is what you need to understand. Bright Chikunu said, thanks for your guidelines. God bless you. God bless you too. Cynthia Dente said, say, I need a video on how to prepare a study plan. Okay, Cynthia, I think you are on our WhatsApp page. So the link will be shared with you on our WhatsApp page. But you can check the description of this video as well on YouTube. I think so. The description of this video on YouTube should have the study plan as well. Cynthia, we've posted it on the page, on the WhatsApp page, so you can check. I'm putting it on the WhatsApp page. So you can check it from the WhatsApp page, Cynthia. So that's it about that. Okay. So thank you guys for joining us on the stream today. And God willing, tomorrow I'm going to be coming your way. Continue to work hard. Monday, we're going to be starting with our, live lectures. For those of you who are studying under my mentorship, it's going to be an intensive 13 weeks. I'm going to really drag you out and be in your face and stay there for a long time. But the goal is very simple, to ensure that you become successful. Firestone Chola said, thank you, sir, for your guidance. Always a pleasure, Firestone. So stay safe, stay blessed, continue to work hard, and note that your destiny is in your hand, not my hand, not anybody's hand, your hand. So you decide that outcome of your life. Thank you, and I'll catch you same time tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Bye-bye.